Namaste, friends. I am so grateful you are here. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and that subscribe bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. If you have been on my YouTube channel for very long, you probably know already that I have gone through an enormous amount of trials and trauma and tragedy. And I wanted to talk to you about the correlation of the emotional healing and the physical healing and how they are so intertwined. After a decade of crazy trauma I had experienced from the beginning of losing my son to a tragic death, the foreclosure of our home, 2 failed businesses, $100,000 of debt, being divorced, going through 5 years of being single, being raped, having my car stolen, having 2 home invasions, remarrying a pathological liar, being divorced from him, going to jail in London, only to culminate into finding the man of my dreams, being married to him, and going bankrupt 2 years later. I have gone through an enormous amount of internal and emotional pain. And what happened was the emotional and mental pain, as it subsided, my physical pain escalated. And this all came to my realization when I was having an enormous amount of physical pain in my shoulder. And the truth is, I had actually hurt my shoulder in a snowboarding accident. So I did actually have a physical injury that was happening in my body. And it's so easy to think that when we have an actual injury, that the only thing that is going on is the injury. And we fail to realize that the emotional injury internally finds the weakest link in your body and it attaches to that space. So let me tell you my own personal experience with this. I went to a physical therapist for two hours a day, 3 times a week for 3 months straight. I was spending an enormous amount of time at the physical therapist's office, only to come by 1% more flexibility in 3 months. It was really, really ridiculous how little I was improving for the amount of effort that I was putting in. Well, I didn't realize that the physical pain that I was experiencing in my shoulder had nothing to do with the injury and everything to do with the pains of the past. And let me tell you how I discovered this. One day I decided I was going to go to the gym, and I was going to go and I was going to do my regular lifting routine. And I went to go do my military press, only to discover that I could only lift 1 pound overhead. And I had been used to lifting 35 pounds overhead in a military press in this. And I had been going to physical therapy, and I knew I could only lift 1 pound overhead, and I just decided I was going to go to the gym and I was going to lift through the pain. And when I got to the gym, and it was very evident that I was not going to be able to lift through this terrible pinching that I had in my shoulder, I threw the weights on the rack and I ran outside and I hit my wheel, my steering wheel, and I just said a prayer out loud. I said, God, what am I not learning for me to be able to heal from this? And I drove home in tears, and I was so at my wit's end with the physical pain that I was experiencing. Well, we got home. The very next day, I was in the kitchen, and my sweet husband, he was my kid's stepdad, and my son had been picking on his stepbrother, who was just a few years younger. And my husband, Seth, said, Spencer, stop. You don't know what it feels like to have an older brother who picks on you. And if you don't realize why this would be emotional, watch this video. It is about my son's tragic passing. My sweet Spencer, his older brother passed away when he was 6 months old, and his entire life He's always wanted a big brother to pick on him. So you can imagine that this comment that came from his stepdad of, you don't know what it feels like to have a big brother to pick on you, was an immediate emotional trigger, both for my son and for me, because I've always been very sensitive that Spencer didn't have his older brother as that buddy, as that friend, as that guy that picks on him to toughen him up. And he runs downstairs and I run after him. And he looks at me and he says, "Mom, you were not a good mom to me." And I said, "I know." And he said, "You are so much nicer to Ezra, your stepson, and he's not even your real son, than you ever were to me." And I said, "I know." And he goes, "Mom, you slept all the time when I needed you." And I said, "I know." And he said, "Mom, you even spanked me." And I said, "I know." And he said, "Mom, you never even cooked for me." And I said, "I know." And I let my son pour out these frustrations that he had had his entire life, because I did the best that I could when he was little, and I was a grieving mom, and I was barely staying alive as it was. And I looked at him and I said, "Spencer, I know I wasn't a great mom to you. Can you please forgive me? And can we start something new? Can I promise that starting today, I will be the best mom in the entire world that you could ever hope or wish for?" And we had this beautiful moment of love and connection and forgiveness and healing and validation and all of these things that happened 13 years before, where we were able to speak the energy that was happening internally and get it out. And the very next day, mind you, I had had this physical pain happening in my shoulder for 2 solid years. I had been going to a physical therapist 3 times a week for 3 months. The very next day, I went back to the gym and I went to go get my weight, my normal weight, 35 pounds, and I military pressed them like I had never skipped a day of lifting for the last 2 years. So as I was reverse engineering this, and when I was thinking through why this would happen, I discovered a few things. And these things is what I want to share with you today. I love to exercise. I love to lift weights. And I correlate all of the exercise and lifting weights to our internal and emotional fitness. When you are a weightlifter, it is quite frequently that you test how heavy you can lift. What is your max weight that you can lift? Let's say my max weight when I am bench pressing is 120 pounds. Now, if I added 1 pound to that 120 pounds and I was then lifting 121 pounds, that 1 pound would be enough to break me, even though it was just 1 pound. But my max weight was already 120 pounds. And so even though 1 pound of weight is not a lot of weight to add, when you are already maxed out, it is enough to break you. And so what happens is when we are lifting emotional weight, it takes up the capacity to lift the physical weight. And so when we then add even just 1 pound of physical weight to the emotional weight that we are carrying, it becomes too much and it breaks us. And so I had to discover that the best way to alleviate physical pain was to alleviate the emotional and mental pain that was going on. And as you alleviate the emotional and mental weight that you are carrying, it immediately frees up the space for you then to carry the physical weight. That is what I have done. Over the course of the last 5 years, I have had physical pains come up in all parts of my body, my psoas, my shoulder, my elbows, my eyes, my neck, my feet, my thumbs. Everywhere in my body has experienced these little moments of physical pain, and I have uncovered that they are all rooted in emotional pain first. And to get rid of the physical pain, we must get rid of the emotional and mental pain so that we can free up the physical places in our body. And that is it for now. I hope you guys have a great day. And if you haven't already, hit that like and that subscribe button, and would love to see you back here. Have a great day. Bye.